right. Welcome, everyone. This is our first reviewer roundtable for our Srixon Q-Star Ultispeed with TrackLine Community Lab. Now, that is a mouthful and a half, but I mean, this was a really fun community lab to follow along with, and I was really happy that you guys all accepted to do this community lab because I know golf balls aren't the easiest thing to test. But overall, it was I mean, just tell me in general, how was the testing for you guys? Do you guys enjoy it? We'll start with Chuck, then Kasey, then Bill, then Ryan.
I did enjoy it. There were a few surprises for me along the way. Primarily that I described myself in my review, average recreational hacker, which means more oopsies than, oh, that was good. So I enjoy the game of golf. I'm trying to get better but bottom line, I did not think I would be able to qualitatively really tell the difference between golf balls on the golf course. I thought maybe over time I'd see some incremental things, but I think from kind of the get-go, when not putting, the first thing I did was on the practice putting green, and then went over to the practice chipping green. And then it was like kind of, and, I kind of left it at that for that day. But another good thing about the testing was the extended period, that I could go back multiple times and retry the same thing. And what started to become clear to me was that there was a difference that we all talked about in rollout, and as a byproduct of that, evidently spin. The other guys I know, Ryan and Bill, spent some time in the sim and could quantify that better. But I just based on what I could feel and see, there definitely was a difference, chipping. And then as I got out onto the course, and when I could, I would drop a second ball, which was the Max Fly Tour, and would alternate and try the same approach shot, generally about 85 to 125, which is where I have a chance of hitting the green.
Yeah.
And to what I could, I would try to make the same swing with the same club from the same position, do the same shot. And I could see a difference in bounce and roll, where the Srixon was getting more of both. And as it described in my reviews, for me, that makes it tough on my home course. But while I have the mic, I would play this ball under certain conditions, like, say, a wet course, or I'm going to Scotland in July, and I understand some of those courses have huge, even double greens. Like, I might use it there to intentionally try to get some rollout. Yeah. Okay. Next victim.
Makes sense. And we'll get more into that soon. So we're not going to leave all the spoilers. So Kasey, you're up next.
It was a fun test. So it's not a ball I would typically go and buy, but it was kind of interesting to just try it out. And I had actually never really tried a non-urethane ball, so that was kind of interesting. Like everyone just, like most of the balls sold are all urethane, right? So I thought, oh, it'll feel hard, or it'll be, not great or whatever, but it actually was pretty good. Like, I didn't really like, it wasn't, if you put them side by side, like, I think it looks a little brighter, but like, I don't think you would know that it's not a urethane ball. Like, it feels harder, but it's not crazy hard compared to other balls. And I found it actually pretty good. And on a simulator, kind of like it lasted way longer than like my go-to ball. So, again, I thought it was pretty good. Like, would I I mean, the problem I think is just around the green and spinning. It just doesn't spin up no matter unless you just, unless you try really hard, like it's just very hard to get it to spin. And outside, it was just harder because you have moisture and your contact's not as good as a simulator, and so it just made it even harder to spin up. But otherwise, from a rollout perspective, like on a par five, if you're playing, if you can play one of those scrambles, like it'd be perfect because you just play that for your drive and your second shot on a par five, and then you'd switch to a regular ball on for closer in, and it would be actually pretty good.
And we're going to dive more into the spin in just a little bit here. So, Bill, thank you, Kasey, by the way. Bill, what were your kind of key findings?
First of all, I had a great time doing this ball test. It was a lot of fun, really. The one thing that I really came to love about this thing was the track line. It was very easy to line up. It wasn't obtrusive. It wasn't like you were trying to be perfectly exact with a small line on your ball to hit your line. So it gave you a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of loosen up, and not be so stiff and rigid in your putt. So that was great. Like Chuck and Kasey said, the fact that it couldn't spin the ball up and get it to stop around the greens was a big issue. Probably the only issue, I wouldn't put this ball in the bag right now. The durability was great. For a distance ball, it did not feel harsh or clicky coming off the driver. It was really surprisingly smooth off the long irons. Number 4 hole at my course is a par 5 dog leg left, and it's definitely 3 shots for me anyway. And the first one being that to get yourself out in the middle of the bend, you have to hit it about 185. So for me, that's normally a 4 iron, and there's a bunker guarding the far edge of the fairway, and 3 times that I used it on that hole, 3 times I found myself in that fairway bunker on the right edge because of the rollout. So it definitely had, some great ability with regard to the distance. But again, as we've all talked about, the spin up around the greens was tough to deal with when you get very comfortable with a ball that you expect a certain result, and all of a sudden it's not there, and you're trying to adjust. It causes mishits, it causes fats and thins and numbers of other things because your confidence just isn't there with that control. But putting, I'd love to see Srixon, like we said in the deal, put this alignment aid on some of their higher end balls because I really do like this.
And I do think that is coming. I think Kasey, when we had him on for Kasey from Srixon Golf Tees, that there's a good chance it might be coming to some other of their products. Ryan, and what were your key findings?
So since I'm going fourth, I mean, a lot of people have already said a lot of the major things. But I'll kind of focus on a little bit is I'm pretty certain I'm the only person in this group that actually uses balls primarily with alignment previously. I was a pretty early investor in Divide when that came out on the original Q-Star Tour run. I had a box of yellow and blues and those. When TrueViz came out from Callaway, I wanted to get a 3D model basically to run a version of that on the balls I was playing because apparently in Europe, Srixon had the rights to it, but they didn't have the rights over here in the US of TrueViz, which was kind of interesting to figure that one out. And I mean, right now, the Srixon Z-Star XV is a ball that I play, and I have it in Divide in the white and yellow, obviously, because those are 2 slightly different colors. It's a slightly different performing ball. And I also like playing colored golf balls. I've played pinks, yellows, the whole gamut, just because that's what I've done. So coming to something like TrackLine for me was more kind of an interesting thing as to how am I going to like this alignment system compared to alignment systems from other balls across the gamut of equipment. And for me, it's probably my second favorite alignment system marking kind of on any ball right now. To be fair, the number one is Bridgestone's mindset, really not more for the alignment, but more for the shot process that they promote with mindset, because I've never really been much of a pre-shot routine guy. But I've also found, and I commented on this quite a bit in the thread, the versatility of TrackLine to me, like Bill said, it's the type of thing where you're not the problem with companies that use lines, right, is that a line is a line, right? It really can't be anything else. And when you're standing over putts, when you're standing over shots, and you're just dealing with a line, there's a lot of kind of mental micro adjustments and other things being like, oh, is my line completely perpendicular to where it is I need to be? The nice part with TrackLine, with that red splotch on it, or the pink splotch, or whatever color it is that you can use it for eye focus. You can use it, like I said, I mean, I tested it primarily indoors, which was also a first for me, as the weather's just been terrible. But this is the first time that I've had like substantial simulator access. Thanks to 5-Iron Golf opening a location in my parking garage, which has been really nice. But the being able to utilize TrackLine, lining it up perpendicular to club faces, lining it up parallel to club faces, so that way I can kind of see where contact can be, or just kind of focus on keeping my head a little bit more still, or creating different ideas there. I think as far as the versatility goes, Srixon's got a real hit on their hands here with TrackLine. I think obviously we're going to talk a little bit about the deficiencies that some of us have seen in the ball, is kind of how it works, but is a pure alignment system. I think the guys have completely knocked it out of the park with TrackLine.
That's awesome. And with TrackLine, would you guys try and like focus on one dot that it has, like the TrackLine? So it's, I don't want to call it a splatter, but it's a series of dots in 3 lines. So did it come down to like that small of a detail where during a putt, or did you line it up off the tee? Was that something that you guys tried as well?
I always.
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry, Bill.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I always use the line on the tee to kind of point down my target line. But Jamie, to answer your question, whether it's that or on the green, I'm wearing my seeing glasses now, but I don't when I play, strangely enough. So when I'm out there, this is just a splotch. It's not individual dots, so I can't focus on that. But that's fair. The general pattern, with the bounding lines and the larger center line, for me, all contributed to a good focus, a general focus. Because kind of going from if you're behind the ball, try to do this in the camera. Of course, everything's backwards, so you're kind of looking down like that. But then you walk around and you stand over the ball, and now you're like that. So as Ryan was alluding to, if you have a single, I don't have it. If you have a single line, although of course that's too much, but now one on a ball 1 degree that way is really hard to tell for a lot of people without, with less than 20/20. As we know, 1 degree on an even 8-foot putt could put you outside the hole. So this whole kind of, I don't know, you want to call it an aiming system,
it squares things up a lot nicer for you.
It really made it easier for me to keep the sense of my target line as I move from behind to next to the ball. So I think that was a key strength for me on this thing. And like Ryan said, I'd love to see this expanded to other balls, and urethane balls would be great.
We'll be sure to pass this info on and share this link with Srixon. So hopefully your feedback is heard loud and clear. Bill, you had another thing to add here.
Well, like I said earlier, rather than focusing on the line, it gave you just a good general, I don't know, just to me, just an easier alignment aid. I wasn't so focused on one line, trying to make it perfect and getting all locked up and tense in my putting stroke and things of that nature. It kind of helped me loosen up and actually, make better contact with the ball. Thanks to what Ryan said on one of the posts as we were going through this, I did try it off the driver, off the tee, and set it kind of perpendicular to my line to help with the club face alignment. And I don't know why I had never done that before, but it actually was kind of beneficial. It helped ensure that I at least had the face straight to start with. Not that the ball went any better right or left, but at least I was getting that club face alignment much closer to what it should have been. But so yeah, it worked both ways for me.
Yeah. So you guys touched on we're gonna end this with value and who this golf ball is for. But before we get to that, the elephant in the room was, well, it was a good distance ball. It flew pretty high. Time and time again, this recurring pattern of it just didn't spin enough. So with that being said, did you guys have to change? Did you change clubs around the green and spinning enough? Now, did it spin enough on tee shots and on full shots, or was it just around the greens that it wasn't spinning enough? Because I think that's also an important distinction for us to make. Ryan, you can start since you got the fourth seed before.
Yeah. So off a driver, I mean, for me, regular spins around 2,900 to 3,100. I'm a negative AOA type of guy on launch. This spun like 2,875. So kind of right in the window where I would like it, right? Where I think a lot of people would be fine with it. Irons, I mean, compared to a urethane ball, it was probably between 500 to 750 RPMs less, but launching that little bit higher. So you're getting it admittedly, Jamie, we're talking at least off of woods, at least off of irons. We're talking negligible differences. I think total distance for drivers for me was basically identical to what my ball, to what the ZXV normally would do. Same with irons, like within a yard of each other. Now, the other interesting thing is, as a aficionado of higher lofted wedges, I do have a 64-degree wedge in the bag. It has always kind of been in the bag. So playing kind of in that space, right, with getting that type of higher launch, I am probably uniquely able to kind of get around that a little bit more. It's still the spin difference cover to cover is obviously still a thing, right? But I have the ability, just based on my bag builds, to kind of get around that probably a little bit better than most, which is fine for me. For others, I totally get it, but I mean, we're talking about a ball that retails from Srixon for $29.99, right? I'm testing it against the Srixon, against the Z-Star XV, which is $54.99, right? And you're telling me for $25 less, I have a ball that pretty much reacts the exact same way off the driver and the exact same way off the irons. If you're someone who can get around kind of the necessary wedge play, and obviously, it's forum members and is people involved kind of in the online golf community, I will not hesitate to say that we are probably more urethane based and more equipment snobbish than the general person who I would run into kind of just playing as a single and other things. But if you're telling me for $30 I can get a ball that performs 90% of the way that a $55 ball can perform, and I could spend that $25 on the course with a couple transfusions or something else along the way, I'm in. Right? I'm all the way in.
You're a happy man.
Yeah.
So for Bill and Kasey, Chuck, we'll get to you right after. But did you guys end up having to, like, with there being less spin, did you have to just get more creative around the greens? Did it actually maybe help your, just for the testing purposes, try different shots that you wouldn't necessarily have tried before, or almost in that kind of link style? Because I'm someone that loves a bump and run, and plays lower to the ground, not so much higher. So did this ball kind of make you have to play in that regard a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more creative?
Go ahead, Kasey.
Yeah, for me, you're right, Jamie. You have to kind of bump and run it. So I did more toe chipping as opposed to kind of, lob wedge. I don't have a 60 plus. Like right now, I have a 58 as the highest lofted wedge. But for that, I put it in the front of more forward in my stance to try to get it to go higher, and try to really make sure that my wedge was really dry, to try to make sure I got as much spin as possible if I was short-sighted. But if I was short of the green or had a lot of potential open run of, I would just toe chip like a 8 or 9 iron, and it worked pretty well. I mean, I think the big difference is this ball is, it's dramatically cheaper than the other Srixon balls that I normally play, and it actually, the durability is really significantly better. And I think what surprised me was you wouldn't really, it's just not that clicky or hard, or just hard to, it's still pretty good to play. And so it's surprising to me that it was such a, like, it wasn't a jarring experience. Like, I sort of thought it would be kind of like a range ball or a pinnacle or whatever, right? That you would equate to a pretty hard kind of ball that doesn't spin, but this one actually was pretty good. So I was impressed.
Nice. And Bill?
Yeah, down here, in Texas area, we have pretty tight lies most of the time and firm conditions. So bump and run, is what we're accustomed to down here. You don't see much of the high flop shots unless you're coming out of some really severe rough or coming out of a bunker or something along those lines. So not using those shots often and not having them really set in your bag was difficult for me to try and use, like my 58, and pitch it up there and see what would happen. So I found myself more and more as I went through the rounds, I was using the old Texas wedge. Every chance I got, I was yanking that putter, that putter out to preserve the score with the old Texas wedge, because I had no confidence that I was going to be able to keep the ball relatively close to the pin as I was accustomed to. But, like everybody says, for $30 a dozen, this is a hard to beat ball. I mean, that is the only negative I had with it, was tight around the greens. And Kasey mentioned it, the durability is phenomenal. When I went to the sim, I used the same ball for well over 100 shots, and it didn't even look like I'd hit the ball. It was, it was that well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did drown a couple of them on the course, but that's just me and my game. So
I mean, that's to be expected.
Yeah, one of these days, they'll build them with water wings or something that pop out when they get wet. I don't know, but no, it's a fabulous ball for the price, and I think this is really going to appeal to a lot of the market.
Wonderful. So Chuck, I'm going to kind of leave the last question for you, and then we're going to do rapid fire for the last three. And that is because I think you guys have already hit on the value of it. $30 for this golf ball, and it has a lot of performance bundled in this package. So this speaks to, who's this golf ball for, Chuck? Or at least throughout your testing, you are an average golfer like us, like all of us here. So who would you recommend this golf ball be for? What is the player type that you feel would suit this golf ball?
Most recreational players, most muni players. I think on a muni course it'd be great. They generally have a little bit larger and slower greens than country club greens, and it could work well there. Some I believe, I forget, of course, I believe it was one of you guys in the discussion had mentioned Super Soft, which is one of the, if not the most popular recreational ball, which I believe goes for $24.99. So for $5 more, I'd be willing to bet a lot more than $5. You get a lot more performance out of the Srixon all around for a recreational player. That would be driving, second shots, approach shots, even around the green with the run out. Again, we're talking recreational players who might not look at those things in the qualitative head-to-head comparative that we're trying to do here. And I think they'd have a lot of fun with it. And again, the splotch, like Super Soft now has their splatter. Some people don't like the all-around things. People do. This, one of the things I'd also mention, the splotch here and being printed on two sides, not all the way around. So I guess if somebody wants the white, they have that option. But it helps you identify your ball out on the course, because people have a tendency to walk around, pick up a ball. It's clearly not theirs. When their ball is way back there in the left, they're going for that ball up. Let me see. And it's just I don't like I was touching my stuff, but it helps identify it. But I think, again, back to the general, what you see on the shelf in the market, the splotch kind of yells out, hey, look at me. And I think if people were looking for that mid-tier ball where they get a good blend of price and performance, this is definitely one to try.
Perfect. And for the last three guys, you guys have anything to add to, what type of golfer you guys would recommend this be for? We'll go Bill, Ryan, Kasey with the last word.
Well, I believe Chuck covered it pretty well. I think this may be, your mid-level handicapper, or just somebody that's fairly new to the game that's looking for a little more distance, a little more rollout. Things of that nature. It doesn't quite have their wedge game under control yet. They're still new and fresh into the game and not really into the control aspects that most of us are, just because we've been playing so long, not because we play that well, but just at our stage of the game. But anybody looking for that is on a tighter budget, great ball. Great ball.
Super. Ryan?
Look, if you don't want to be thought that you're just a bum by playing like your $15 top flights, your $17 nitros, your $23 super softs, your Amazon balls, your etc. You want a ball that people will know, that is going to give you great performance off basically every club in your bag, and give you an advantage as far as some sort of kind of visual aspect that's only going to help probably a beginning player looking to get better as far as their alignments and kind of the non-substantive things in a golf ball that a golf ball can present you. The Ultispeed with TrackLine, I think, just makes so much sense for such a wide swath of the market.
Wonderful. And Kasey, final word.
It's like a recreational golfer that wants to try to hit their drive as far as possible and outdrive their friends. And then I think have a decent chance at, potentially if they have a really great drive to get on a par 5 and 2, right? Because it rolls out. So you have a decent shot to get it on the green. So I think it's a fun ball, and for the right recreational golfer, it's a good value proposition. And I think the track line for recreational golfers it's going to be helpful to them. It'll help them align the putt and really kind of, the typical recreational golfer, gets advice on what the line is from someone else in their foursome, but now they can put it in there like on the green and align it to what those guys are telling them to do, right? So I think it's a fun ball. So hopefully Srixon has a winner here.
I definitely think they hit a good market with this ball overall. Guys, I really want to thank you for all of the time and effort that you guys did with this community lab. It was a fun one to follow along with. I appreciated all the data, the photos, and everything and the thoughtfulness that you guys put into the reviews. For anyone watching, you can go to community.lifeattheturn.com. You can check out their full reviews. We have them all up here for you guys to read through. Each guy did a full detailed breakdown about their game, about the whole system and everything that they did for testing, and in general, just again a big thank you from me and the community, and from Srixon to do and put together this review for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
With that, I love giving out product to everyone because it's a lot of fun to see your feedback, and I think this is why these reviews really matter. Because it's real golfers doing real testing, giving real feedback. So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to having you guys on our next review.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jamie. Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, Chuck.